belongs to those who have free minds. Those who can see behind the veil of illusion, know the truth, and can stand on it.
My pro-black, really pro-black, anti-hip-hop dress code. That's no cap, no vax. My white cells assassinate. Any kind of virus get chewed up, masticate. My immunity's indestructible. I'm a pillar of my community, no deductible. General Tucson leading the revolution. To black problems, we are the only fucking solution. No outsiders, no white saviors, we gatekeeping. I keep trying to wake them up cause they stay sleeping. Jooks is armed with ancestral wisdom, so I don't trust people that still trust the system. We gotta eat like Sebi, fight like Ali, think like Malcolm, migrate to Merca, Somali. I carry my own water, so I value every drop of it. Drowning at the bottom, so I swim up to the top of it.
If I say it, then I mean it. I'm never backing down. Only a few real ones left now. If it's truth, then I'ma stand on it. If it's justice, then I'ma stand on it. If I say it, then I mean it. I'll never take it back. And if you ever hear me say it, then it's facts. That's my word, and I'ma stand on it. What you heard, I'ma stand on it. Yeah. What happened to principles, character, fortitude? Healing through alchemy, magic is what I'm born to do. Time to purge the planet from human toxicity. People do any and everything for publicity. It's way out of control, destructive, they weak and careless. We either stand for what is right or else the people perish. Putting these devils in a panic, now we got them frantic. The righteousness of justice is poetic, Pac and Janet. You don't know lies from truth when you wearing blinders. Wisdom separates the strong people from the spineless. They tell me to kill them with kindness, be considerate, but everybody's capping out here, nothing's legitimate. Bodies surrounded us everywhere, but the souls is missing. The enemy is always watching and the ops is listening. No wonder most of these people feeling defeated. The language of God is encoded and they can't read it. If I say it, then I mean it. I'm never backing down. Only a few real ones left now. If it's truth, then I'ma stand on it. If it's justice, then I'ma stand on it. If I say it, then I mean it. I'll never take it back. And if you ever hear me say it, then it's facts. That's my word, and I'ma stand on it. F what you heard, I'ma stand on it. Rusty Jucks, Ty Phoenix, yeah.
All right, and welcome back to the latest edition of New Day Resurrection and Liberation. All right, and shout out to Sister Ty and Rusty Jux for staying on it. All right, and thank you for being here. I am your co-host and moderator for this evening, Brother Lumumba Uncaged, and of course I have with me Sister Empress Chi.
All right. Thank you, Brother Lumumba. Yeah, this has been real interesting tonight. For some reason, I could not get in. So I'm going to try again to get in on my laptop, but I was able to, of course, get in on this device. But moving right along, you know, sometimes those little glitches happen, but here we are ready to rock and roll. This is our second edition of New Day for Women's History Month. And of course, you know, we focus on our Black women history. And with that said, we're going to talk a lot tonight about some things that a lot of folks, so for some reason, don't want to talk about, and that is the violations or the, shall we say, the misuse, the abuse, etc., of Black women and girls. Now, we're going to be bringing this issue up, not just for this month, but on an ongoing basis as we go into the next phase of the development of the Million Woman March Universal Movements. And of course, with that, next year's MWM 30. So this year for MWM 29 is really kind of a preparation to get ready for the reunion for next year. So you're going to hear us talk about some of the key platform issues that we're now bringing forward. And when I say bringing forward, with solutions, at least what we believe is going to put a little glitch in some of this stuff. Anyway, tonight we're going to focus on violence and abuse in the context of historical perspective, because as we proceed in the next year, we want to make sure that we're able to provide ample training, which involves education, information, particularly for our women, because we are developing Black women and girls advocates, because we see some things coming that we feel most don't quite get yet. And our sisters are going to need folk who are able to speak for them in a very qualitative, professional, and authentic kind of manner. And so we will have our own universal Black women advocates nationwide, so that when Black women and girls get into certain kinds of situation, there will be someone there to help them in a manner that is not manipulative and using them and whatever. We'll talk more about that a little later on, along with some other things. But Brother Muma, do we have Sister Elaine in queue? Okay, I'm not hearing you for some reason.
Oh, okay. Yep, there you go. Does not look like it. I do not believe so. Looks like we have Sister Diane in the yard, and also Baba Moses is in the yard as well.
Okay, so
Happy
we're
to be.
waiting for Sister Elaine. I'm going to check to see what's going on with her, because she should be coming up right about now. So what I'd like to do is, you said Sister Diana is with us?
Yes, let me see. In fact, let me bring her up to the stage real quick and give a quick shout outs. All right, all right. Greetings, greetings, and thank you for joining us this evening on New Day Resurrection and Liberation. Okay, hold on, okay.
Okay.
So yes, got Baba Moses in the building. Thanks for joining us, Baba Moses, and thank you for tapping in, supporting New Day Resurrection and Liberation.
All right. Well, in the meantime, again, we're going to hopefully get Sister Elaine Riddick with us. In the meantime, brother, what I'm going to do is try to find a clip that I can send you while we're waiting for her to join us. That will at least give folk a little bit of insight into who she is and why we're going to be talking with her. But also, I sent a clip earlier today. I don't know if you saw that, to talk about someone that I had never heard of before. And again, one of our roles and functions is to bring information that's really not so readily available, or many don't know. You know, it's information now that we can share with our people that we weren't able to share years ago, because we just didn't have the kind of access that we do today. Well, that has changed, and we're going to make certain that we're able to, you know, utilize it to the best of our ability. So, Brother Muba, what I'm going to do is have maybe Brother Moses might have some updates for us on some things that have happened this week in his world, because I'm going to switch over to another device. It seems like I can maybe get on now with my laptop. So I'm going to get off of this one and come on another device.
Okay, all right, copy that. Thank you. All right, let me see. And we also have Sister Shayla joining us as well in the
Okay,
yard.
great.
So, all right, let me just tap in really quickly and do some check ins, see how
Okay.
everybody's doing this evening. All right, bringing up Papa Moses, and let me bring up Sister Shayla. All right, thank you for joining us once again for this latest edition of New Day, Resurrection, and Liberation. All right. Bob Moses, I'm not sure if you have any updates for us this evening. Thanks for tapping in. How you been?
I've been doing just fine. I think we definitely had some demonstrations last weekend, Saturday, and that was good. The Union of Concerned Scientists were there, standing up for science, and then later on in the day, Code Pink and PSL and some other groups were there, standing up to stop the war on Iran. There were some revolutionary Jews, Orthodox Jews there. They're always there when there's an anti-war demonstration. They're progressive, they're revolutionary, and they're anti-Zionist, and so it was good they were there. And so I don't know, it's been just a good week. People are becoming more and more conscious, and that's a good thing.
All right. Yes, sir. Thanks for that update. Much appreciated. Thanks for joining us, Baba Moses.
Yeah.
All right. And also we have Sister Shayla joining us. All right. Let me just tap in really quickly. Just tapping in. How you been, sis? Any updates for us this evening?
Peace, everybody.
Peace,
Thank you
peace.
for allowing me to be there. So I'm just here to join, to bring some contribution once we start our conversation. Today I was involved in different calls about the African world, right? So US, continent of Africa, and how we can build to protect us from this craziness in this world. This is what I've done until now.
All right. Excellent. And thank you for joining us once again. Thank you for tapping in with New Day, Resurrection, and Liberation. All right. Let me see. Do we have our guest for this evening? It does not appear so yet. Okay. With that being said, let me see if I can. Let me see. Oh, we got Sister Empress back on the line.
Okay, Brother Lumumba, I have Sister Elaine on, and she says she can hear us, but you're saying you do not see her in.
Will she be on as Diana? Diane?
No, it's Elaine.
No,
She hears you.
well, I see a Diane in the back on the backstage, but not a.
Okay, click onto that and let's see. Maybe I don't know. Maybe
I was there. I just was there. Let me come back. Check. Is this Sister Elaine?
no.
No. All right. Okay.
She hears you, but for some reason you're not seeing her.
Oh, she's on YouTube.
You're on YouTube, sister. You have to go to StreamYard.
I see her now. Yep.
You're on YouTube though.
Yep. Come on over to the StreamYard. All right. So Sister Elaine will be joining us shortly. All right. She was over on our YouTube Live platform. All right. So she should be joining in shortly. All right, family. All right. Let me, in the meantime, in between time, let me see if I can pull up a clip real quick about a sister that I just learned about recently, and see if I can share that with the family. Okay. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Give me a hot tick. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to be sharing this quick video. Oh, let me start it right. Okay. All right, let me share my screen here, family. Quick screen share. Here we go. And this video is coming to us from one of our favorite sisters, Sister Ashley B. All right, you're going to be talking about Thelma Del, ancestor Thelma Del P. All right, let me let it rock.
A woman you probably never heard of. She sat across Let me tell you about a woman you've probably never heard of. She sat across from Eleanor Roosevelt in the White House. She quit a federal job rather than sign a loyalty oath. She helped build one of the largest international women's organizations in the world. She co-founded the first Black-led feminist organization in American history. She lived to be 98 years old. And almost no one knows her name. Meet Thelma Dale Perkins. She was born in 1915 in Washington, D.C., in a neighborhood built by freed Black people after the Civil War. Then she goes to Howard University. She helps build the Southern Negro Youth Congress, one of the most militant Black youth organizations in the country. And they're not hosting panels. They're organizing steelworkers, tobacco workers, sharecroppers, talking about labor exploitation and racial violence as the same system. In the 1930s, after college, she gets a federal job. Then in 1947, President Harry Truman requires federal employees to sign loyalty oaths, declaring that they are not involved with subversive political organizations. Thelma Dale looked at that paper, and she quit. She just walked away. Instead, she joins the National Negro Congress, and eventually becomes its national secretary. The government calls the organization a communist front. What they were actually doing was organizing Black workers into industrial unions, fighting lynching, and pushing for jobs in war industries, which made the government extremely uncomfortable. Then she goes to Paris. It's 1945. Women from more than 40 countries show up. Hundreds of delegates. They create the Women's International Democratic Federation, which becomes one of the largest international women's organizations of the post-war era. Thelma Dale is one of the 12 American delegates there. She later said it was the first time she experienced being treated as a full human being in an international political space. Then she comes home to segregated America, and she keeps organizing. Then in 1951, she met a Black woman in Georgia named Rosalie Ingram, who killed a white man that attacked her and her sons. One-day trial, all-white jury. She and her sons are initially sentenced to death, before the sentences are later reduced to life imprisonment. The federal government does nothing. So Thelma Dale helps found the Sojourners for Truth and Justice, a political organization led entirely by Black women. Within 2 weeks, 132 women had come to Washington. They marched. They demanded to see the president. Harry Truman refuses, so they hold a candlelight vigil outside the White House anyway, and the FBI starts watching them almost immediately. Then the Cold War hits. The organizations she helped build were labeled subversive. They were dismantled, erased. And the civil rights movement that follows picks up many of the fights that she'd been pushing for 20 years. But history remembers other names, right? Thelma Dale Perkins dies in 2014. She's 98 years old. And most people still have no idea that she was ever there. Say her name, Thelma Dale Perkins.
Ashe, Thelma Dale Perkins. All right. With that being said, let me come back over to Sister Empress. You have any additions on that video clip we just saw?
Actually, no, Brother Lumumba, because I'm trying to get Sister Elaine in. Do you see her backstage?
Let me check now. Oh, yep, got her. We got her.
Okay, very good. All right, Sister Elaine, I'm going to hang up from the phone. You should be able to be seen and heard now on StreamYard. Okay, so I'm hanging up from this phone. Okay, all right, very good. We finally got her on. Okay, great.
Seems like she's lagged or okay. We got her. All right, perfect.
No. Okay, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, so I am familiar. I didn't hear much of the clip, Brother Lumumba, but I am familiar, of course, with that. But we'll come back to that shortly because I want to kind of move on with Sister Elaine because we have Brother James, Dr. James Garrett coming up shortly. So I gotta, make sure we try to get this timing a little more on point now. But anyway, family, we have with us finally Sister Elaine Riddoch. And for those who did receive the e-blast and other information, then you will have seen that she is the director of the Rebecca Project. And with that said, I'm going to let her tell you more about what that is. But in the meantime, I started off earlier talking about how the violations of Black women and girls in the U.S. is something that's not new. It goes back centuries, needless to say. And to just kind of bring it a little more up to date, we're going to talk with Sister Elaine, because genocide, in the context of what this system has done with our women, and had done it legally. And we're talking about after so-called civil rights legislation and all of that was passed. We're talking about after 1948, when the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was written, and all of the nations of the United Nations, for the most parts, agreed that certain things were, in fact, human rights violations. Well, in the 1960s, and of course before then, but we're going to stay focused on the 1960s for now, because that's what Sister Elaine is going to share with us, that she and other Black women were, in fact, not only violated, but we say it's genocide. And so we're going to revisit a little bit of that and bring it into today, because with the thousands of missing, kidnapped, next, we're on Facebook, so I have to use other words, different words to describe certain things. So next, trafficking, and now we're looking at possible organ trafficking. With this happening in our communities nationwide, we're getting ready to sound the alarm. But we're going to go into a little history to just kind of put it in context. And we're going to have Sister Elaine to share with us the unfortunate situation, story, reality of what in fact happened to her and others. But she's right here with us live and in living color to tell us about it. And the struggle continues. She has continued to fight over the years for us. And this is why we're highlighting our women this month, because we still have freedom fighting spirited women, as we had with Fannie Lou Hamer and Ella Baker and others. Real stuff, not this fake phony stuff that we're seeing a lot today. Not this camera and all this other stuff that is just, well, anyway, we're going to get to the point of Sister Elaine Riddick. Sister Elaine, welcome to this segment of New Day. And thank you for taking the time to join us. And I'm going to turn the mic over to you to share with our family the story of Elaine Riddick. You got it.
Oh, you're on mute. You got to unmute yourself.
Unmute.
Yeah, you got to unmute yourself. Well, let me see. Let me see if I might be able to do it. Let me see if I can do it. Got it. Give me 1 second. Okay, there you are.
Can you hear me? Hi, my name is Elaine Riddick, and I was born in Windfall, North Carolina. What happened?
You got to come back to your computer, I think. You left.
Okay.
You are.
Okay,
you can only be on one device.
Okay. Hi, my name is Elaine Riddick, and I am 72 years of age. At the age of 14, at the age of 13, I was a victim. I was a victim of rape. When I went into the hospital to have my son, they sterilized me. Back then, it was normal for the social worker and everyone, anybody could have a child or a person sterilized. It didn't matter. Mine was done through the social worker. They had written to Eugenics board in Raleigh, North Carolina, to solicit them to have me sterilized. And they said that I was feeble-minded, that I wouldn't be able to take care of myself. I wouldn't be able to take care of my child, and that I shouldn't have any more children because more than likely my children would also be feeble-minded. Mind you, my son, who I gave birth to by cesarean birth, he was an entrepreneur. He was a millionaire by the time he was 24 years old. So I'm trying to figure out, and I wasn't the only one that they sterilized. First, they started out with the poor white people, and then it escalated towards the Black people in the 60s. In the 60s, when they was doing all the redlining and, taking our houses away, and they was sterilizing children in institutions. And mind you, a lot of Black kids back then were institutionalized, and little boys, they were sterilized. Little girls, the youngest one that I know of was 5 years old. Can you imagine somebody sterilizing a 5-year-old little girl? Can you imagine somebody castrating little boys, 8, 9, 10 years of age? I mean, this is the type of thing that Black people had to live with. I mean, they would take the kids and tell them that they were going to go and, take them to the dentist. But instead of taking them to the dentist, they would take them to be sterilized. I mean, when I found out that I was sterilized at the age of 19. I didn't find out until I was 19, 5 years later. And when I found out, I was totally devastated, because I had gotten married at 18 and I wanted to have a child. And because I went to the doctor and the doctor told me that I had been butchered, they didn't even do it correctly. They just did it any kind of way. So they had severely severed my tubes. They clip tied and burnt them to make sure that I never had another child. The state of North Carolina sterilized 7,600 people just by itself. And I want you to know that 38 states within the United States sterilize their citizens. I mean, and they only saying that they only sterilize 7,600 people in North Carolina did. They said that the United States only sterilized 50,000 people. Now, if you was to count the 38 states that sterilized its citizen, especially California was one of the highest ones, New York, Alabama, Tennessee. I mean, we're talking about millions of people that have been sterilized without their knowledge or without their consent. I fought the state of North Carolina from the time I was 19 years of age until I was maybe in my 50s before they acknowledged that they had did something wrong. The state of North Carolina paid 200 and some victims $10 million. So we had to share. It only came out to $48,000 because it's between the 200 and some people. We had to share the 10 million. A lot of people had died, and a lot of people' family could not even get the compensation. I fought this by myself. But before they gave me the 10 million, they divided amongst the whole 200 and some people that was alive. 200 and some people did not go out there every week, every day, and fight for this cause. This is what happened to me. And North Carolina think that they did something for me. They did nothing for me. I even asked them, what did I do for you to do this to me? I am not feeble-minded. But that's the term that they use to sterilize little Black boys and girls. Feeble-mindedness. I mean, how in the world can you say, with me, it was like, I wasn't feeble-minded. One doctor said that if you put her into a different environment, she would develop better. It was environmental. See, a lot of our problems are environmental, and we forget that part. Put her in a different environment. I didn't have a mother. I didn't have a father. I had no one to protect me. I used to have to go to school with dirty socks, wear the same dress 3 and 4 times a week. My shoes were turned over. I was nappy headed. And this is why I believe they did that to me, because I had nobody to protect me. And even though, some of our kids, we just have a messed up environment. A lot of these parents today, they don't get it. They don't get it. You can't hang out with your children and expect for your child to be, normal, because it's not like that. White people used to go and they would, it wasn't only me. Remember, what was the man's name? He sterilized women in the backyard. I'm trying to think of his name. It starts with an M. Anyway, he was a doctor, and he would go and he owned slaves, and he would take these women. Oh God, I almost had it. He would take these women and he would sterilize them. As soon as he would do that, he would put them back out in the yard, in the fields, to pick cotton or whatever it was. Now I used to pick cotton. I used to use an outdoor toilet. Slavery is just the other day. I am 72, and I was living there, seeing all of this, seeing the lynching, seeing the killings, and everything, But anyway, what happened to me afterwards was that I grew up. I took my pain and turned it into something positive. I refuse to be a victim. I am a survivor today. I am no longer a victim.
Yes, ma'am.
I got my college degree. As a matter of fact, because I was so feeble-minded that I got my associate degree and I never even finished high school. I never even got out of the 8th grade. This is what they're saying. They're telling me I'm feeble-minded, but yet and still I went to CUNY, New York City Tech in Brooklyn, where I acquired my associate degree. I went to medical aid training school. I did nursing for 8 years, but how in the world could you label me as being feeble-minded? And they said they made a mistake. How can you make a mistake like that? That wasn't a mistake. That was genocide.
That's right.
You intentionally did this to me. You gutted me open like I was a hog. You took away my femininity. You took away my rights to be a mother, to have more children. This is genocide. They have been committing genocide against Black people for God knows how long, from the time they came on this planet. And it's not just here, it's all over the world. We have these people, you talking about, okay, with me. So now you talking about, you got these white women that was raped and you're giving them billions and millions of dollars. They wasn't even sterilized. You see the difference. Everybody see the difference. They wasn't even sterilized. All they said was they was raped and they get about $50 million. So why can't we, our kids are being kidnapped and body parts are being sold. Where are they going? Who's buying the body parts? What are they doing? As soon as a white kid, somebody kidnapped them, all hell is breaking loose. We have so many young boys and girls out there today that they are giving this Ritalin and what is it? Giving them this injections, giving them these vaccines to cause them to be sterile or to cause them to lose their mind. I mean, or to change their gender.
Mm.
I mean, how many times? I mean, the vaccines, the MMR vaccines, is changing their gender. How many? We have never in our life seen so many Black men walking around with the pants down. Why is that? It's the MMR vaccine. You know, we have so many people that they claim that Black people, that they are claiming to have cancer, and they're giving them this radiation or whatever, and they don't have cancer. This is pharmaceutical. I am so tired of them using us as a guinea pig. Medical apartheid is what it is.
That's
Genocide.
right.
Mhm.
That's right.
This is what it is. And it's so much that's going on with our people today until you don't even know where to begin. Where can you start at? Where do we start at? Where do we start? You know, they have us already like we're running around in the wilderness with no direction. We don't know if we're coming or going. We don't know where we're going. We're blindfolded and running around out there with no direction because they intentionally did this to us. They lied to us. They have always lied to us. Then you say something. If you say, well, you used to feed Black babies to the alligators, where'd you get that from? And then they'll start, that's a lie. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. The reason why we don't have anything is because every time we get something, they burn it down. I hear people talking about pooling your money together for what? For them to burn it down? We need to build our own everything. For what? Everything that we have built, they have destroyed it. These people are demonic. They are evil. I went to England last year, I think it was, and I spoke. I was the only Black person in there, except for a couple of my friends that went with me. I was invited to come and speak at the Adafi Institute of Eugenics.
What?
Yes, I'll send it to you. I was the only Black person that was there to speak about eugenics and what they were doing to our people. And the name of my speech was From a Black Woman's Perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You run around and doing all of this. Who told you you were God? You can't play God with us. We know what you're doing. We see what you're doing. You're not that smart. They're not that smart. I go all around the world talking about eugenics. How they put alcohol in the Black community, drugs in the Black community, guns in the Black community, for sterilization, kidnapping our kids, selling them into Israel and China. That's why you can never find our kids. You're selling them for body parts. These people think that we have something that they need, the melanin. They need that, and then when we go to the hospital to have a baby, they take the placenta. They grab it, they snatch it.
That's right. Yep.
They snatch it. Why can't I have my placenta?
That's right. Demand it. Yes.
It's a high demand, and number one, that blood. I mean, a lot of getting back to this, a lot of our children are being sacrificed. A lot of our children are being sacrificed, but you haven't heard how Epstein, they used to take his people, they used to hunt Black people in Florida and kill them and drink their blood. See, they keep this stuff away from us. But this is why I enjoy reading. I like to read. I just like to read. I like to read because the more I read, the more I understand them and see them for who they are. They're very evil, demonic people. Very evil. What did they say? What they want was blonde hair and blue eyes, bloodline. They wanted a pure bloodline. Why do you think Margaret Sanger opened up abortion clinics in the Black neighborhood? These are white supremacists. The best, if you really want to hate a nigga, the best way to hate a nigga is to kill it before it's born. But yet and still, we as Black people run to them and beg them to lynch our womb. They don't have to lynch you on a tree no more. It's womb lynching. They lynch our womb, kill our baby inside of us. And we don't understand that these are white supremacists. I mean, they pay for you to come in there. Why do you think sometimes some Black women don't have to pay for an abortion? Because they're paying for it. One man said, if I donate money to this clinic here, this abortion clinic, would you make sure that my money went to kill a Black baby? I mean, and we're just running to them. We're just running to them, begging them, paying them to kill us. Just paying them to kill us. I mean, what can we do? How do we stop our women from going to them knowing, they don't know that the reason why is because that white people are afraid that we're going to outnumber them. They're afraid that they're going to lose their numbers, that they're going to become the minority. But some people say they're already the minority, but I don't know. They're the majority here, but when you put it all in Africa and all the other Black countries, we are the majority, but we are the minority here. So, but the point is that this is what is going on and why Trump and all of them got their heads up the booty, because they feel like their race is being washed out. As a matter of fact, they only produce 1% of their own people within the last couple of years. So this is why everybody is telling them, a white woman, to make sure that she have her babies. But the Black babies they're killing. Now it's even worse because if a Black woman this is directed towards a Black woman. If she go and have an abortion, she get life in jail, in prison. Yes, she get life in prison. So what do we do? How do we stop these monsters? How do we stop them? Because either way, they have the jail, they have, this is why they gave us welfare too, is to keep us in bondage. This is the real reason for food stamps and welfare and all of that stuff, is to keep us in bondage and keep us stupid and keep us dependent on them. So what do? You know, this is why they got rid of the black man out of the house, so they can control the woman. And that's scary. You know, if you take everything away from them and keep your foot on their back, they cannot rise up. And that's really scary. It's so these people are so unashamed. I mean, and it's right in your face now. They are saying it out loud. You know, every day is something else. Every day they're taking something away from us. It doesn't matter, the museum, the military, you know, whatever it is, they're taking it because they feel like that we are unworthy. But, and then like those people over in Israel, those are Russians. You know, how in the world did they get to own the country or claim a land that don't belong to them? But you see, these people here make sure they keep that land so we don't have it. And the people that's over there in Sudan and Syria and all those places like that, most of them are Black people that's being killed over there. And people aren't even paying no attention. You know, they're not paying no attention. And they're saying that when he went over into Africa, in Nigeria a couple of months ago and bombed Nigeria. You know, this is really, really pathetic. And nobody care. Nobody care. These people go over into these countries and kidnap our children over in Africa, rape them, and invite them over to their countries so they can just have their way with them. Same thing with Israel. They invited how many thousand people? Africans, not African, but Ethiopians over there. And now they over there sterilizing them too. Giving them Depo-Provera.
Now hold that point right there, my sister, because we want to go into that as well, because that's one of the issues and situations that you are really a part of. Unfortunately, we're going to have to cut our conversation short tonight. We got started late and we have another guest that we need to bring on. But before we do, family, you just heard Sister Elaine Riddick. She said she is not. She is a survivor. And as you just heard her, she most certainly is. But a lot of people are not familiar with the fact that particularly during the 50s, 60s, and again, we can prove this. This is not hearsay. This is not something that you think. This sister right here is right here in our midst. This happened to her. She was sterilized without the permission of herself. Of course, she was only 13 years of age. Her grandmother signed something that she didn't really know what she was signing. And so this is the kind of manipulation, the kind of exploitation that our people have had to endure for decades. What I'd like to do, Sister Elaine, because we got started late, I'd like to invite you back for next week so that we can go into the work that you're now doing with the Rebecca Project. And this, you just mentioned something, the DEPRO. We want our people to know what that is. Now that's happening right today, family, that our women and young girls are now being inoculated with this Depo-Provera thing. And so I want Sister Elaine to be able to take her time to explain to us and share with us what that is, how it's affecting us, and what it is we must now do. So before we close this segment out, I see Dr. James Garrett is with us. We're going to bring him on shortly. I just want to ask the family if there's any questions or comments that you have. And Sister Elaine, can you join us next week to do part 2?
I will.
Oh, great. All right. So before we have Sister Elaine to close out with her closing comments, is there any, Brother Mumba, any comment from you? Brother Mumba, can't hear you.
Oh, excuse me. First and foremost, I wanted to say, you know, we thank you and we love you, sister, and appreciate, your courage, your commitment, your strength, and your resilience, and to be able to continue to fight for not only your rights, but the rights of our people as well, and to bring this serious situation to light, and this painful aspect of history to the forefront. So, I just appreciate you being able to share your story, and your, salute you for all your hard work and dedication and your
Thank
perseverance.
you. Thank you.
Sister Shayla, do you have a comment or something you'd like to share?
Oh,
We can't hear you. I think you're
sorry.
muted. There you are.
Oh, now. Sorry.
Yes.
I'm
Mhm.
just glad that I had the opportunity to listen to your story. I feel bad, but it's not something that I didn't know, and I really like that you have a understand that is a global problem. It's not specific to the United States, and this is what they are doing, and even the language that you use. It's something that's very important. We are dealing with demonic people, and this is what it is, and they are controlling the world. We must find a way to get these people out of this world because it's not normal. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Sister Gwen, quick comment, thought about what you just heard. You unmute. Gotta unmute. There you go.
Well, I thought, if I can recall, I thought the Latino community was the next largest group of people that were having babies.
Yeah, I think the main point was that the Europeans are going to be in the minority. That's the main point.
Right. Got it.
So yeah, the more black and brown people that they can eliminate and stop from procreating, then the faster they can, keep up with not having their ethnicity or race erased.
Mm. Well, they got a lot.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
But the fact is, most people, well, except the Latino community, a lot of people are not having large families anymore. Most, I mean, even myself, my sister and I both have one child. So the genie's already let out the box. I mean, people are having less children overall, including black people. The Latino community is the only one that's, like I said, they usually have more than one child, three.
Mhm.
They usually have three or more. Um,
So I think the other thing, Sister
I don't
Gwen,
know. It's
I think the other thing too that has to be noted is one, we have to deal with the historical perspective and also kind of look at the remedies that need to come from that. But the other thing that we have to also connect is even though what you just said may be applicable more to right here in the US, looking at it from a global perspective, that's not the case at all. I'm sure you know that the projection for Africa is like off the hook in terms of what the population, what they're projecting the population is going to be. So even
yeah.
though we're focusing on here and what's happening here and what we now must do in regards to that, because there's some other kinds of things that are coming down the pipe, which we'll share next week as to how they're going to further or what the projection is to further lessen our population here. We'll get more into that next week. But again, because we're also looking at the international scope, as Sister Shayla mentioned, again, the projection, particularly for Africa in terms of population increase is quite, it's up there. So we've got to look at all angles of this and keep it to us. Okay, I think.
I don't, I don't, I mean, the way the Europeans and particularly the ones here, the current leadership, it looks like we're all going to be here. No one's going to be here because they're destroying the planet with all of these wars.
That is
And
true. But
it's
again, we have
scary
to
times. I don't know.
stay focused, meaning there's always distractions. But if we're going to be effective, I would strongly suggest that we stay focused. Select an area of interest or of struggle that we want to be involved in as it pertains to us. We've got to, at some point, come first. And that's really one of the things that we are asserting at this point. First, family first. But thank you, Sister Gwen. We got to move on. We have Dr. James Garrett with us, who, oh my gosh, when you all hear this conversation, I want to thank, of course, Sister Elaine Riddick is a freedom fighter for today, needless to say. And again, we're going to bring her back next week so she can tell us about the Rebecca Project, the work that she's doing presently, the kinds of things that's coming down the pike with this biological type of genocide that is now being brought into our communities nationwide and throughout the world. Okay, so we're going to again talk with Sister Elaine next week. Sister Elaine, we're going to give you a few moments just for your closing comments.
Okay. I'm looking forward to being on your show next Saturday night. And I just hope that we can see beyond the forest because this is very dangerous, and Black people here are living in dangerous times, and we have no clue about what's about to happen. I mean, they're feeding us, our food is contaminated, our water is contaminated, and they're killing us slowly, and we can't even see it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, my sister. Thank you so very much for being with us and for all that you do. And again, next week, we'll give our family some insight into some of the work that you're actually doing now with the Rebecca Project and how that is so applicable. Again, DEPTRO, a lot of people don't know about it. And you also need to know about the HPV, what is it called? HPV, anyway.
The Paloma,
right.
The virus.
Yeah, they got that going on too. We're going to really bust that up next week.
Yeah, and they're giving it to our little girls too.
That's right. It started at 12.
Yeah. Okay.
And see, we were at the United Nations, I think, year before last, and sat in on a session that we really didn't mean to sit in on. We were just sitting there resting. And the conversation we heard was unbelievable. We'll talk more about that next week. Thank you, Sister Elaine.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. You can stay with us, though.
No, I am, but you can take me off.
Okay, cool. All right.
Thank you.
All right, family. So moving right along, again, we are still commemorating, of course, Women's History Month, but we are also commemorating some other things this month too. And one of them is the anniversary of the first Black Student Union being formed here on a U.S. campus. Now, for some, that might not sound like much, but I can assure you it is a lot. It means a lot. And that's why we're taking the opportunity and the responsibility to make certain that our people know more about some of the real history of Black students and young adults, particularly during the 1950s through the 1970s. Because some stuff that people kind of know about today came as a result of some of the work that folks put in during that time period. Now, of course, with this being Women's History Month, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, of course, the great, and we call her Saint, Ella Baker. Ella Bundy Baker, and of course, Saint Fannie Lou Hamer. Well, those are some of the names that you are familiar with. And because I've become now a student of our history with a specialty in Black women's history, I've reached out to a few folk to help us to grow and to really know some more of what we need to know about our women during that time era, their roles that they actually played, and oftentimes that got kind of pushed to the side because we see that still today, you know. But also the impact that some of these women had on some of the students and more, needless to say. And so with the combination of this being Women's History Month, with the combination of this being the recognition of the first Black student union here in the U.S., it was more than appropriate to have our next family member join us because he was there. Not only was he there, he was literally one of the founders of the first Black student union in California State, now California State University. And again, it is so important that we connect the Black dots, meaning we talk about our youth and students today, and we have to examine what is really going on and why. Well, let's go back for a moment and see some of what happened in the 1950s, 60s, and parts of the 70s, because I came out of that late 70 era. Everything was kind of gone, but I was able to get in touch with a little of it. I was on my campus with the Black Student Union, or Black Student Congress for us. But it was because of those who came before us that we were able to do the little bit that we were able to do. But those brothers and sisters in the 50s and 60s, wow. Well, I'm going to have Dr. James Garrett to share that with us. He's with us. It is such a pleasure and an honor to have him. I'm going to just have him to give a little history about himself, if he will. And then we're going to just go into this very important dialogue. Greetings, Dr. Garrett. How are you this evening?
Good evening. It's good to talk to you, and I really appreciate the opportunity to commiserate, to talk with you this evening.
All right. Well, I'm going to actually turn the mic over to you, but before I do, I have a few questions that I want to ask. Before you became, of course, Dr. James Garrett, tell us about, because a few folks that I've spoken with, they always say, "Oh, Jimmy, yeah, Jimmy," or we talked or whatever. How did this get started for you, being a student, young adult?
Well, I was born in Texas under apartheid. Texas is probably the least southern state known for how intensely rabid and racist it was. It's some of that's coming out now, but it was a profoundly racist situation. My father had been involved with the Southern Negro Youth Congress. As a young person, he was a baseball player, and they traveled around playing baseball in Texas and Louisiana. And he would take Black newspapers and pass them out. So it's part of my DNA to be involved. I just didn't know it for a long time because, as was typical of a lot of families, the way our parents and our extended family protected us, keep a lot of information from us. The thing was to keep your head low and do as much as you can. 1960, my family moved to California in the mid-50s, and in 1960, I was sent back to Dallas for a summer vacation, really to get me out of the street clubs or street gangs. And the people that I had grown up with were already active in what was the beginning of the movement and of the youth movement, student movement in the South. So I got involved in the sit-in movements. And then the next year I was involved with the freedom rides. And so that history began when I was still in high school, and has continued for up to this moment. So that's where the beginning. I was lucky enough to be kind of seen as a young person who was a sponge. I mean, I was always interested in movement activities or movement people. And so I came to be involved in that way. Over time, I did meet and spend time with Sister Ella Baker and Fannie Lou Hamer because I was involved with SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee from the 63. I was in the summer project in Mississippi. In 64, I became, and during that time, I was being trained, although in many ways I didn't know it, to be an organizer. And that's where I've spent my entire life, looking for ways to link people together. So Bob Moses and Ella Baker and people like that were people who would show me the ropes and teach me little things about what to do. And James Foreman and Ruby Doris Smith, who was a sister younger than I was, but she was cold. Or she was intense in her strength. Sister who came out of the HBCUs in the South. In fact, most of the people that I met in the South who were in the movement had been students mainly at Black colleges and universities. Although now the universities and colleges praise their activity, most of the people who were in SNCC were people who had been expelled from college for their activity. So, sometimes what happens is that we not only reclaim history, we reconstruct it so that it gives us a better view of other people. But a number of the people in SNCC were diamonds in the rough. They were people who dropped out of school. In fact, SNCC's full-time workers were people who said that they wouldn't go back to school for a year. And some of them didn't go back to school ever, and spent all their time working with communities in Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Mississippi. They worked with the Congress of Racial Equality in New Orleans. That's where I spent some time in jail, or in Mississippi, where I spent time in jail in Parchment. But those are some of my early experiences that helped ground me and train me, prepare me for the decision intentionally to see whether it was possible to create or build cadre at predominantly white colleges that were now drawing larger and larger numbers of Black students from high schools because of the expanding power of the United States. They needed more people who could read and write and had technical skills, who could teach, etc. And that opened up some doors in the North and Central places where I taught later, like Temple University, opened their doors. University of Pennsylvania opened up just a little bit. But I went to San Francisco State, and that's where I went to San Francisco State intentionally to see whether it was possible to build a model Black student movement on a predominantly white college campus. Much of that, and I'll stop with this, came from my experience of listening and being a part of movement and the training that, and the time and energy that people put into me to help, gave me to help train and prepare me to do that work.
All right, great. I would be remiss if I did not mention, for those who do not know, of course, when we talk about the great Saint Ella Baker, you heard Dr. Garrett mention SNCC, Well, again, this is information that we want to make sure is now matriculated and placed into our communities, y'all, because without certain pieces of history, we dare say we're not going to progress, move forward as adequately as we must do. And so we're going to make sure that on our end, to the best of our ability, we bring you information. And again, not just stuff that you can get on YouTube or, TikTok or whatever, but some of the people that were actually there. We owe it to them. We owe it to ourselves to make certain that we connect those dots. So with that said, again, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Stokely Carmichael and H. Rat Brown.
Yep.
Coming under the tutelage of, again, St. Ella Baker. And of course, they developed into, as Dr. Garrett just said, they too developed their skills after being trained and nurtured, because that was a major part. You weren't just given training in terms of organizing, you were actually given love and nurturing. And of course, they rose up and became later known as Kwame Ture and also Iman Jamil Alamin. So I just wanted to give you that little sidebar. These are the kind of people that our women help to, bring into a certain modality. Okay? So we have to, connect that again in terms of the significance of our women in terms of the movement. It was so much more than what has really been shared or conveyed. So let's fast forward a little bit. So Dr. Garrett, you are at now San Francisco State.
Yes.
Tell us about the formation of the first Black Student Union. And with that, subsequently, or what came after that, the longest strike, even to this day in the US, that the students put in place. Tell us a little about that.
Okay, let me start with from our building. I need to name, I went up there with an idea that had been shaped really by my training and preparation in SNCC. I spent 6 months trying to prepare to go to San Francisco State when I'm living in Los Angeles. And the cachet of the movement, which was going through some tremendous changes at that time in terms of approach and ideology, the movement from nonviolence to self-defense to revolution was taking place at that same time. When I got to San Francisco State, what I saw was that in that community, there was already Afro-American Association. This brother Don Warden, who was a student at Cal, had pulled together all these various activities, training and preparing people through Black history courses and language courses and speech courses, et cetera, building up people's consciousness. All of this comes in the wake of the tragic assassination of Malcolm X. And so people saw themselves as being like children of Malcolm X and saw that consciousness was developing. The notion I'm Black and I'm proud was developing. All this is going on. So it wasn't a static community in Oakland, Richmond, San Francisco, the so-called Palo Alto, East Palo Alto, that whole Bay Area. A lot of things were going on. When I got to the campus, there was already an organization that had been formed in 1963, Negro Students Association. And that organization's chair, Mariana Wade, was the powerhouse on the campus already. And she had that organization was really a kind of a cocoon, a place where young Black women coming on the campus had alternatives to joining the AKA or the Deltas or the Zetas, that is the sorority organizations. They could also be involved in some in community projects, and there was a lot of activism and demonstrations for jobs, employment issues, and police abuse, etc., in San Francisco at that time. So she was the chair of that organization and became ultimately the first chair of the Black Student Union. I went to San Francisco State not to be a chair, but to be an organizer. But the other people who were very useful, who were very important, who connected me with Mariana Wadi, her name is now Miriam Al-Wadi, was Joanne Mitchell, Patricia Rivera, and a sister who became a very well-known actress. Her name was Vanetta McGee Presente. She's married later to Carl Lumley, but she became an A-list movie actress. We also recruited brothers that some of you guys know off street corner in Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco. His name is Danny Glover. We recruited him to the campus mainly because he was 6'3". And so our notion was to recruit as many people onto the campus and then to prepare them to take over first the student government and then whatever economic programs we could, tutorial programs, community organizing programs, all kinds of things that people were into in those times. We consciously moved to take over, take the student government, everything over. And that was our early days of activities. It was the sister Patricia Rivera was the person who thought we should call ourselves a Black Student Union, not to be different from anyone else. I mean, in Oakland at that time, there was an organization called the Seoul Students Advisory Council. And out of that organization came the Black Panther Party for self-defense. There were two Black Panther parties, by the way, in the Bay Area. In any case, those were the energy, the foundation of building what became the Black Student Union was, I mean, I'm trying to be as honest as I can, really led by Black women. It was Black women who were the majority. And of course, as you know, 2/3 of the Black Panther Party were Black women at its height. So all of these things were taking place, the general consciousness, national consciousness, international consciousness, local activities. And so that made it a little easier, a little simpatico for us to go onto a campus and organize to do two things. And then I'll quit with this for questions. The first thing that we meant to do was to develop a strong consciousness. Out of that, a Black consciousness, and out of that came the first formal Black Studies program at a 4-year college institution in fall of '66, spring of '67. And the other thing we dedicated our program to was we didn't see ourselves as building a lasting institution on a predominantly white college campus. Our purpose was to train people to use that institution's resources, to train people, and then to get our people as quickly as we could back into the community. So we didn't feel an allegiance to the campus or to any campus. We felt an allegiance to our people to use whatever resources were available, take those resources in a cold-blooded manner in many cases. I mean, we took over the distribution of payment to pay people to work in communities, etc., wherever we could, from the budgets on the campus, from the student government to anybody else. But our focus was a lot different from what Black Studies is now, and from what Black student unions are now. Our focus was to send people to communities as cadre, and to spend the rest of their lives in service to people. But we wanted them to have as much skills as doctors, skills as attorneys, skills as accountants, technical skills, skills as engineers, whatever skills that we could develop using the resources of that campus, develop those people but we never saw ourselves as having any allegiance, long-term allegiance to the white college campuses. We saw ourselves as having allegiance only to Black people, Black communities, and to the whole world.
Ashe. Thank you, Dr. Garrett. Okay, before we go into segment, as Dr. Garrett mentioned, we're going to open up the floor for a few questions. And again, family, we'll probably have to bring them back. I hope we can, because there's so much more that we want to really get into in a more in-depth manner. One of the things that Dr. Garrett just mentioned is how things were and how they are now. And one of the things that we're really working on doing is making certain that some of that foundation stuff is now a little more in our midst today. Because, you know, this weak watered down stuff that we're seeing today, and yeah, I said it, you know, it can't continue like that. We cannot allow upcoming generations to continue what we're seeing in this manner today. Our people fought too long and too hard for there to be a certain type of synergy, a certain type of movements. And, you know, now we're seeing that has been co-opted, and that puts it mildly. So we're going to open up the floor for some questions. Before I do, I just want to remind folk or give folks a little more sidebar kind of information about Dr. Garrett. Just one of the institutions that he is known to have taught at. Again, he is also Professor Dr. Garrett. And that was, of course, Howard University. He taught political science. Oh, don't you love that, Baba Moses? See, I told you we had people who literally knew about political science for real. Anyway, so he is quite astute in that area. A little later on, we'll go into hopefully some of the things that he is presently doing, of course, throughout Africa, Namibia in particular, but also in parts of the world. But Dr. Garrett is also a lawyer. So we are very thankful that he has, you know, taken the time to share with us in both of those capacities, forms of consultation, advice, and just outright wisdom. I mean, what can I say? Y'all know me. I don't listen to just anybody. I mean, I'll listen, but, you know, behind that, that's a whole nother thing. But with Dr. Garrett, I feel very safe and confident in our conversations. And again, Dr. Garrett, thank you so much for lending, you know, your time and expertise to me, but also to us this evening. So let's go to the floor. Brother Lumumba.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Much appreciated. And thank you for that wonderful history. And, you know, for your part, you know, triple salutes, you know, to being able to being at the forefront of the development of, you know, this tremendous movement, which was able to spark the minds of the youth at the time in order to become great freedom fighter, liberation fighters, leaders, you know, pioneers, innovators, and creators. So much appreciated for that and for all your work, Dr. Garrett.
Thank you.
With that being said, before I open the floor up, I did have a question myself. I wanted to know how do we bring back that type of fervor and spirit, you know, of that sort of Black student movement and those type of organizations, you know, that revolutionary, evolutionary, you know, how do we bring back that type of also Black consciousness? Right, because it seems to be, you know, kind of a lapsed or a lag, and you know, as Sister Empress, you know, some of the that spirit has been kind of nulled and you know, watered down and so forth. So how do we bring back that type of passion, and also, you know, how do we bring back that type of narrative and imagery? Because not only was it impactful, not only was it, you know, spirited, you know, grounded and you know, research and history and aspects of social political astuteness, but it was also hella cool. how do we how do we bring all of that back to the forefront, Dr. Garrett?
Well, let me just say that I think that there's been some real serious problems because there was a shift that took place with the collapse of the movement in the mid 70s to 80s and the Black movement, and into international movements. National liberation fronts won their victories and then went directly into liberalism. So a lot of the heroes that we looked to, other than in Cuba and a few other places, Grenada, they kind of gave in. There were deep splits in the movement in this country. I know that I spent a lot of time connecting, trying to make sure that people of my generation, like, I know that Howard University, through Dr. Nathan Hare, that's where DC NAG, the DC Nonviolent Action Group, which Stokely Kwame was leading, and the Revolutionary Action Movement, which Max Stanford was leading, were in the same space at the same time. Who was the sponsor of both those preliminary groups that these brothers went different directions on, but ended up in the same place, was Dr. Nathan Hare, who was the brother we brought out after the first year of our Black Studies program to develop and build. So what I'm saying is that what we tried to do was to continue to, as best we could, to make that continuum happen. That was our work. My feeling is, my brother and the rest of people here, is that the organizations that should have nurtured and maintained the models that we risk our lives for, and some of us lost our lives and lost our sanity. And I mean, when I left San Francisco State, I had 5 years in prison hanging over me. So there were people, and that I'm not saying that to boast. That's just, that's not a reality one wants, but it's what we had decided we had to put out, and organizations that arose out of that history of some organizations and some Black studies programs consciously alienated themselves from both Black communities and Black students. Black students created the circumstances for the National Conference of Black Studies because it was Black students who created Black studies. There were no faculty members who created Black studies because there were no at San Francisco State. There were only 2 Black faculty there. So it was all students, undergraduate and graduate, and the community who nurtured us, that created the conditions for Black studies. And then the people who most benefited, the Black faculty members and Black researchers and legacy, people who built their legacies, individual legacies. If you go around to, and as I have, to Black Pan-African studies, Africana studies, whatever the name was, what I say is, whatever the name, they went from radical to reform to reactive in many cases, because people saw themselves as having careers on the campus. When, so far as I'm concerned, you can go back in the house for a minute, but that's not where you spend your life, because as Amiri Baraka said, that's soft living among the dead. It's not the best place for you to grow the people. It might be a good place for you to live softly, but not for the people. So so one thing that needs to be done, my brother, I think, is to consistently challenge and call out and demand a responsible reconnection with what's left. I've been doing that for 40 years, so I'm not sure I'm almost sure it won't work, but it is a way to put something to put some energy into, because I think that now, if this fascism the fascists now in this country are winning, and one of their easiest victories will be the defeat of Black studies programs, because we don't have a constituency. Blacks, we lack a constituent. We lack and 90%, not all, but 90% don't have a community constituency. I don't mean speaking to the community. I don't mean going out and visiting every once or twice, doing photo ops. I mean, there's no separation, as Miri Baraka said, between what you do on the campus and what happens in the community. And the community controls that process. That's the work. That seems to me, on that arena, that's the work. And in order to do it, groups of people have to go back into those settings in Black schools or HBCUs, which I still say are white institutions with Black faces.
Mm-hmm.
We have to go back into all these institutions if that's part of our work and rebuild those relationships, or we have to build new institutions, or we have to do both.
I say,
Yes,
thank you for that,
indeed.
Dr. Garrett.
Okay, before we go to some of our family that might have a question or a comment for Dr. Garrett, another quick sidebar for everyone. Some might be familiar, and I'm hoping that those of you who really are interested is taking some notes, but some might be familiar, and then some may not be familiar with something known as the Bakke case or the Bakke situation. Well, not right now, but later. And of course, Dr. Garrett, if you want to mention something about it, you certainly can. But we'd like to take some time the next time around to kind of go more into what that was and your role in the committee. Yeah, you didn't know I knew that, did you? Oh, yeah, I know a lot of stuff. Anyway.
I see you do.
Yeah, but it's important, family, that we know some history. And that Bakke case situation is just, again, there's just some things that we really should be a little more aware of. But anyway, we're going to talk to Dr. Garrett about that at another time, because he was very much involved in a committee to fight against it. But I digress. We'll go back to that. Brother Lumumba, do we have someone, any of our family, that might want to have a comment or a question for Dr. Garrett?
All right, so folks is on the stage now. So if you have a question or a comment, the floor is open, family.
I have a question. I have a comment. This is Brother Robert Moses. I have a degree in political science from the University of New Mexico. And anyway, but that's neither here nor there. I'll be remiss in not to mention that on Wednesday night, I went to a PACA, Pan-African Community Action, and we had a meeting because when Africa called, Cuba answered, and we're trying to get people to recognize that Cuba's in trouble right now and they need our help. I'm sure that the professor understands why it's so important to get this information out there. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Baba Moses. Thank you for that addition. Did you want to respond to that, Dr. Garrett?
I can just say that my first visit to Cuba was just before going to work in the Mississippi Summer Project in spring of 1964. So that's how old I am. And I had been interested in Cuba since I don't know, some 59. From the time I began to become conscious, I began to become conscious of the history of Cuba and the fact that the leading revolutionaries in Cuba's history, like the brother of the Bronze Titan, these are all Africans. When I got to Cuba, I mean, almost everybody I ran into in the airport and everywhere else, I mean, these were all people that looked just like me. The difference was they spoke Spanish. It was good that I had a little Spanish, but in high school. But I think that it's fundamentally important for us to remain connected with Cuba. Number of us have been like this from our teenage years. We never broke our relationship with Cuba, and then later Venezuela, Guyana. I spent a lot of time traveling with Queen Mother Moore and CLR James all through the Caribbean when we were trying to build for the organize for the Sixth Pan-African Congress. These are our people. They just want to be dropped off in a particular place at a particular time, but for where the anchors drop, we would be there. But Cuba is very important to us. It has always defended us. It has always taken people who accepted people who were trying to get away from here after engaging in rebellious or radical or revolutionary acts. It always accepted us. It never sent anybody back who was not sincere. These are people that we have to recognize, and that there's an attempt to rebuild or reconstruct the Monroe Doctrine in this hemisphere. That is part of the program of Project 2025 and the Heritage Foundation for the U.S. to retake this. And the whole idea is to take the small community or the least powerful communities or the weakened communities and then isolate Brazil and finally take Brazil, because that's the mother lode down there. Not only is that the largest Black population in the hemisphere, it is also becoming the most organized, radicalized Black population at this stage in history. So Cuba becomes important not only historically, but strategically for us to recognize that our struggles don't end at the borders of the United States. We are in a situation where we must have comrades, we must have international solidarity, we must have unity at the international level, because as bad as we think we are, we're not at this point, particularly as disorganized, or I shouldn't say that, unorganized as we are, powerful enough to defeat this monster. So for no other, if it was basic reason that we need Cuba as a escape valve, as a way to get to some of us are going to have to get up out of here as this gets more intense. That has been the history of Cuba. Very important. Cuba is very important, and I agree with the brother who's just on that we have to raise Cuba up. We have to re-educate our people about the important value of Cuba. I remember when Muhammad Ali was talking about the importance of Cuba. That's how deep it goes. When Malcolm X was talking about the importance of Cuba, that's how far back it goes. But it's important right now because of Cuba's strategic place in the world.
Absolutely. All right. Anyone else? Comment, question?
Hope I don't scare people away. Sometimes
Oh no, Dr. Garrett,
I haven't softened at all. So, I mean, I'm harder now. I've learned a bit more now, so I'm harder.
Oh, we love it. We love it. Please stay that way. All right.
We did have a comment from Brother Pollinator on our YouTube page.
Okay.
All right. Putting that on the screen now. Triple salute to Dr. Garrett for his historic body of work worldwide. The ancestors are very proud of you. All right.
I mean, if you know what you say, it's like Cabral, I'm a simple African man doing my duty, right? That's it, in these times, in this place. And I did want to mention the work that we're trying to do, or we've been doing in Namibia. Namibia is a nation now that's basically one of the, outside of Democratic Republic of Congo, easily the richest in terms of raw materials, minerals, particularly, of any place on earth. And it was attacked a century and a third ago by the Germans. That's where the Germans learned how to do their Holocaust, the first Holocaust they did was they killed 80% of the black men in what was then called German Southwest Africa. It is now called Namibia.
Mhm.
And they systematically caged about 25-30% of the women and impregnated them, creating what you can imagine. Right now, Namibia, which is the president of Namibia's sister,
That's right.
and much of the leadership are women. This is the third or fourth generation of leaders, and women have not emerged. They have connected at the top, and they have worked hard to with my group of mainly African engineers and architects and designers and builders, and we're working on the building of a training hospital for all the people in Namibia, be a number of clinics, and then a base hospital for more in-depth training. We've been working on that project now for about 4.5 years, and we've just gotten the major funding. We've done some basic work, but I did want to bring that up because I think that it's important at the international level. I don't know how much study you folks are involved with, but I'm a person who travels the world. And I'm serious. I don't mean that as bragging. It is Black people who created the conditions for me to travel. I spent a number of years working as a rapporteur for the United Nations. I do international law, so I travel around. And I'm telling you, this situation in this country is very, very shaky, even more shaky. I mean, we've known shaky, but this is very, very problematic. And we need to have some places where doors are open for our people to move back and forth. And Namibia, at this point, is becoming or has become one of those places. They don't want Americans, but they do want people who have American passports who are of African descent.
Mhm.
Distinction that they make in publications, you can read the distinctions that they make. They are open and welcome to those of us to come and engage in productive work, and also as a place for recluse. I'm finished. Thank you.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Garrett. And for those who do not know, we're working very, very diligently to connect some of these things for some of us here in the U.S. And so, in the very near future, we'll be able to give you more information, more insight, because MWM has always been something that was to be international. Listen, we had Mama Winnie Mandela with us for the first Million Woman March. So, it ain't like we just popped up and said, we're going to do something international, okay? We came out the gate doing it. So at this stage of the game, we really now are, looking to develop various things. And after Dr. Gary and I continue with some of our dialogue, we'll be able to share more with you about some of the things we're looking at to collaborate on. I can say this, that very soon we'll be able to give you information on one of our international campaigns. And of course, we're hoping that Namibia will be joining with us. But at this point, we can say that we're looking at an international, what we call fight for the cure. And it is in regards to sickle cell anemia. Yes, our position. See, again, we love our history. We appreciate those who have come before us. And we know that years ago, the Black Panther Party and others, but definitely the Black Panther Party. I mean, that was a part of the day-to-day thing that folks was doing. See, this stuff people are doing now, an event here, a project there, and no, that's not what we're looking at doing. So we'll soon share with you our Black Print Agenda 30. It's really 25, 30, but we only, going to give you from 26 now to 30. And in that, again, there's national and international initiatives. And again, one of them is the global fight for the cure for sickle cell anemia. And so as we proceed with MWM 30, there will be various sessions that will focus on what we need to do here in North America, specifically the US, and how we need to connect that now globally, given the fact that that is the malady, disease, whatever, that tends to affect our people.
Yes.
And there's not much information in our communities nationwide about it. And now what we're reading and researching, we're seeing that there are entities that are now coming forward to produce medication that will at least relieve some of the not just the symptoms, but release some of the pain, the actual pain. And so our people need to know more about that coming from us. And we need to be at the table when some of these things are discussed and even look at possible investment. But I digress. Let's go back to the family. Any more questions or comments? All right.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the time and to engage in the conversation. And thank you very much. As I told you, there's some people who are still active that I want to connect you with.
Yes.
Sister. So we will talk sometime during this week, I hope. Okay?
Okay, great. All right, Dr. Garrett. So we're looking forward to next week. Hopefully, Dr. Garrett is going to try to bring us a couple of sisters that he wants to share some, have some dialogue with us and really build what we need to now build family. So, Dr. Garrett, thank you again, and I look forward to talking with you later on this week. All right. Brother Lumumba, what you think?
Oh yeah. I mean, excellent work and just a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
And a boost of energy.
Absolutely.
Just to hear from the mouth of one of the pioneers of the Black Student Union, the Black Student Movement, and to see that he's still fighting the good fight, still doing the work and being able to encourage us, to motivate us, to inspire us to continue to do the work and continue to push forward, and also hold some of our elders, still help hold them accountable and responsible.
Yep.
Because this work is lifelong. So, much appreciated for that wonderful insight and energy from Dr. Garrett.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know what, Brother Moomba, as quiet as it's kept, I mean, there's so much more. I mean, Dr. Garrett is very, shall we say, mild-mannered and, just nonchalant and all of that. But let me tell you, there's a whole lot more going on and has gone on. When we talk about Black liberation, he doesn't, have a lot of conversation about certain things, but best believe there is lots that can be gleaned from, shall we say.
All right, excellent. I look forward
one
to
name, and I'm hoping that some of you picked up on the name. He mentioned the name Max Stanford. And for those who do not know that name, particularly if you're interested in Black history in the context of Black liberation, you might want to Google Max Stanford. He's also now known as Dr. Muhammad Ahmed. He's retired now. He taught at Temple University, but brilliant, and headed up an organization years ago called RAM, Revolutionary Action Movement. But he was, shall we say, targeted, COINTELPRO, etc., for many years, and they did try to incarcerate him. He was charged with several things, and one of those things happened to be, and I'm gonna leave it at that, and we'll talk about it another time. But one of the things that he was charged with was unaliving what some folks consider to be a, shall we say, I won't say Tom, because that gets mixed up sometime with things, but I'm gonna say people in our community that are considered sellouts. I'll put it like that. Anyway, moving right along.
All right, all right. Yes, indeed. I do have a brief clip from Brother Max Stanford, also known as Dr. Muhammad Ahmad, if you want to touch base on that.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. And again, family, we're going to go to that clip, but I also want to share with you a look. Brother Mama, did you find that one article that I mentioned earlier? It was in regards to a sister, and if I need to send it again, I can.
Yes,
But,
please do.
Okay, cool. All right.
Okay, okay. Let me go ahead and share the screen here, family. Let you all get a taste.
Talk about 60s movement, things of that nature. Unfortunately, a lot of folks only know the Black Panther Party. They only know Martin Luther King. They know Malcolm. You know what I'm saying, so on and so forth. And some folks may have heard of Dickens self-defense and a few other formations. A lot of people don't even understand the relevance of SNCC. As far as RAM, as far as the Revolutionary Action Movement, can you kind of give a breakdown as to what it was, the purpose, and also what, if possible, the year of the formation, just for historical purposes?
Well, RAM started in 1963 in Philadelphia, and what we were trying to do was raise the political consciousness of African Americans that we could not achieve total freedom. At that time, people were talking about freedom, justice, and equality under the capitalist system. We worked on issues, from helping the ministers with the selective boycotts to struggling against racism in the construction industry, which still exists, and other issues, local issues. Other groups or other formations picked up on what we were doing, particularly when we mobilized about 30,000 folks in the spring around the Strawberry Mansion construction site. It was a school being constructed in the heart of the African American community, the inner city, the hood, and African American workers were not being hired other than, just some manual labor, picking up some bricks or something like that. And so we blocked the entrance of the white construction workers to stop the, work. And Frank Rizzo, who was a racist police officer, and I think he was maybe a captain at that time, he had a whole section of racist police. All police are not racist, white or black, but his faction was definitely racist. And they used the flying wedge and, beat Stan and myself, unconscious, and we fought. And they took that footage out of the Eyes on the Prize. They wouldn't show that, in civil rights, but we were fighting. Right. And what happened was we had been known in Philadelphia, and what they did not know was we had relations with Malcolm X, and we called him from the police station. And Malcolm mobilized the whole East Coast to support us. And within a week's time, 30,000 folks, were, like rumbling right down the Strawberry Mansion, Wow. So other groups like Herman Ferguson and others picked it up in Queens, New York. Other groups picked it up in Cleveland, Ohio. People were struggling against, racial discrimination over jobs. Right. Right. And so it spread, It forced Kennedy to talk about affirmative action in the construction industry.
Wow.
All right, there you have it, family.
Wow, great clip. Wow. Yep, that was, again, that's who Dr. James Garrett mentioned earlier, and they are very, very, very close. They work very closely together. These are the kinds or the types of brothers that I've been fortunate enough to have met and have been able to interact with over the years. They are my elders, needless to say. But again, these are a few of the people that have helped to, shall we say, motivate me and others. And so, I would be remiss if I did not mention both of them were also very close to one of my other elders, and that was Baba Bilal Sunni Ali. They were all very close. So I'm, saying that some of the work that you see and hear MWM do is not stuff that just came out the clear blue sky. It's been things that have been worked on for quite a few years and has been kind of ran by or presented to a few folk who I felt, their thoughts about certain things were in fact definitely noteworthy, and that puts it mildly. So again, I'm very selective in terms of who I personally engage with and in when it comes to certain matters. And those folk can be verified and not just, because they're related to somebody. They were there. They did it. Unlike some stuff that's going on today. Anyway, moving right along. We're going to get ready to close out, family. But before we do, Brother Moment, did you see the clip? This is a sister that I'm just becoming familiar with. And again, one of the things we'll be bringing forward next year is our National Black Women's History Curriculum. And by the way, Dr. Gary didn't make this clear, and so I'll make it a little clearer. He and a few others were, in fact, the ones that put together the first Black Studies curriculum in the 60s. So what you're seeing today is very much as a result of those students and young adults coming together and putting that stuff together. And now you're seeing all over the country, Black Studies Department, Afro-American Studies Department, Africology Studies Department, Pan-African Studies. That stuff would not be happening today, y'all. So we've got to make sure that we don't dismiss the things that got us to be able to advance. And we've got to call a spade and stop playing games and putting all this sugar coating on stuff. But okay, Brother Moomis pulled up the article. I haven't been able to find anything on YouTube yet. And by the way, speaking of YouTube, just a slight disclaimer, y'all. Of course, some of the things that you've heard tonight are opinions. And of course, it's not the reflection or the actual, shall we say, coming from the host or the producer of New Day. We use the freedom of speech concept. And with that, we ask folks to do their own research. And again, this is for educational purposes and for some entertainment. And there we are. Okay. So,
right.
Yep. It's just y'all know how the social media stuff goes. So we got to put these little things in there because people can get real strange. Okay. So this being this being Women's History Month, we wanted to make sure that we highlighted some of our women. So, hey, Brother Lumumba, did you ever hear of Mary Hamilton?
I did not. I have not.
Yeah.
That is news to me.
Yeah, it was news to me too. But again, we're really on a mission now to, find this history of our women. We have to make sure we highlight the history of our women, of our people. But, my area of expertise is our women. So with that said, so at least for me today, I don't like being called Miss. In fact, when people try to do that, Miss, what I'm telling them, I ain't missing nothing. So I always correct them and tell them I don't use that name or that title or that surname or whatever you want to call it. But needless to say, years ago, that wasn't an issue in another kind of way, meaning that off-white people tend to call grown folk boy and girl, right? And that was intentional because it was about belittling you or making you feel lesser than. So you could be 90 years old and you would still be a girl or a boy, right? And they kind of play a little game now sometimes. But so years ago, it was, it was the norm. It was society. That's the way, and people had to accept it. Well, this one sister, her name is Mary Hamilton. She was a part of Freedom Riders, again, going back to that 60s era. See, I got to look at these students today and go, what? A rally because of a Black Lives Matter, and then y'all go home and do what? Anyway, folks did stuff on a day-to-day basis, like every day. Anyway, Mary Hamilton was a part of the freedom fighters. The Freedom Riders. Mm-hmm. And she was an organizer and did a whole bunch of other stuff. Anyway, she got arrested. And to fast forward, the judge was kind of addressing her, but there were some off-white females that they were calling Ms. Sally or Miss Jane or Ms. whatever. But for the Black females, they were whatever their first name were, or girl, or whatever. Anyway, this bold Black woman, right, challenged the judge and said that if you're not going to call me by my name or Ms., so Ms. Miss Mary, then you can't call me at all. Now, for us today, that might seem like, that don't mean nothing, what? But back in the 60s, that was a no-no. You did not question a judge or, say something out of pocket, things of that. No, you just didn't do that, y'all. But she did. And so we wanted to make sure that we were able to share with you some of the warriorness of our women during a time when you not only could get beaten severely, you could literally get unalived easily, and there would not be much said or done. So we want to give a big salute to someone that I had never heard of before. Her name was Mary Hamilton. And by the way, she sued. She was fined $50 initially for not complying with the judge. Because whatever he was talking about, she was like, I don't want to hear it. If you can't address me appropriately, I'm not doing nothing you say. I ain't hearing nothing you're saying. So they fined her $50. So she filed a lawsuit against them, the state, the judge. And it eventually got thrown out, but then she filed in Supreme Court. And guess what? She won. So with that said, just want to remind everyone again, the name Mary Hamilton. And we're going to be finding more information about her because, again, I'm just learning about her. But we're going to dig in and find some more, best believe, because the lawsuit is on the record. So we'll be looking at some of that and then some. What are your thoughts about that?
Absolutely amazing. And now I was able to find a short clip on Facebook. So I can pull that.
Okay.
All right, and this is coming from a lawyer as well. So let me and share that clip real quick.
Okay.
1 second. Yep, law office. All right. Yep. All right, let me share that screen real quick. Here we go. Okay. Here it is. Boom. All right. Okay, family. All right. And looks like yeah, she made the cover of Jet magazine. Wow. All right.
My goodness.
In 1963, Mary Hamilton was convicted of contempt and sentenced to jail for asking a white prosecutor to call her Miss Hamilton instead of by her first name. The prosecutor refused. This case made it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. In June of 1963, Mary Hamilton worked for the Congress of Racial Equality in Alabama. She was one of hundreds of civil rights activists that were arrested for protesting Jim Crow and segregation in the city of Gadsden. At a court hearing to determine the legitimacy of those arrests, Ms. Hamilton took the witness stand to be questioned by Edgewood County prosecutor William Rayburn. When he asked her what her name was, she said, "My name is Ms. Mary Hamilton." He went on to call her Mary. Ms. Hamilton refused to answer any question in court until she was addressed by Ms. Hamilton rather than by Mary. The prosecutor had addressed all the white witnesses as Mr. and Mrs., but when it came time to cross-examine Ms. Hamilton, he refused to call her Miss. The judge found Ms. Hamilton in contempt right there as she sat on the witness stand and sentenced her to 5 days in jail and a $50 fine. She received this sentence because of her insistence to be treated with the same dignity as any other white witness that had testified in court. Ms. Hamilton served that 5-day sentence, but she refused to pay that fine. The Supreme Court of Alabama unanimously upheld her conviction, saying that her name was Mary Hamilton and not Miss Mary Hamilton. The NAACP Legal Defense Fund appealed her case all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. In March of 1964, with 3 of the 9 justices dissenting, the Supreme Court reversed Ms. Hamilton's conviction. This is not a small case about what one black woman wanted to be called in the Jim Crow South in 1963. It's about how black people are treated in our legal system. The law reflects the racial attitudes of the day. Jim Crow did not stop at the courthouse doors. It invaded every aspect of our justice system. There were even separate Bibles for black and white witnesses to swear their oaths on. It wasn't until 1963 that the U.S. Supreme Court actually prohibited courtroom segregation. In 1963, Jim Crow and segregation stood firm when a black woman named Mary Hamilton asked to be called Miss Hamilton. Today, racism and systemic injustice stand just as firm when black people come to court seeking justice for police brutality and excessive force. Mass incarceration, police brutality, wrongful convictions, and legal doctrines like qualified immunity, they act as a defense for systemic injustice, just as Jim Crow did 70 years ago. In 1963, Mary Hamilton was convicted of contempt and sentenced to jail for asking.
All right, family, there you have it.
Yep.
Right, so we're going to continue to salute and raise up ancestor Mary Hamilton.
Absolutely. Wow. I mean, again, it is just so amazing. Absolutely amazing. But we give thanks, family. We give thanks. Now, listen, I want to remind everyone that tomorrow is a very important meeting, particularly for brothers. Sister, you can chime in, but brothers, we're getting ready to put a major call out nationally. And so tomorrow kind of begins that process. And no, we're going to document the different groups, organizations, individuals, be it elected officials, be it whatever. We're going to document letters, calls, etc., to various men, not just men's groups, but Black men, period, in regards to the issue of missing, kidnapped, etc., Black women and girls in the U.S. So tomorrow at 9:11 p.m. Eastern Time, we're asking those who are really serious, both SIRIUS and SERIOUS, about doing something in our communities nationwide that is going to enable greater safety, protection, and self-defense for our women and girls. Now, I can tell you, MWM is getting ready to put a plan in place for our women and girls to make sure that this happens. So it's not like we're going to be waiting for people to do it. But again, we want to make sure that our brothers have the opportunity and will take on some of the responsibility of doing what men, real Black men, should, could, and need to do. So now we're putting these things in place. Now I can share with you and will tomorrow, because I will be on that call, I will be doing a presentation. But we have for over 5 years been asking Black men in Philadelphia in particular, and various groups and organizations of Black men to support our efforts in dealing with the issues of violence and abuse of our women and girls. And I can tell you and will be telling you who has responded and who has not. And next year, we're going to really create the capability to show this from a national level. Now, I've been featured on Carl Nelson's program, which is a syndicated radio program on Radio 1. I've been featured on there several times and will be on there in the, more as we proceed for Million Woman March reunion, 30-year anniversary reunion. And one of the things that Brother Carl has made sure to ask about, because he has become very concerned, as Dr. McIntosh and others, they become more aware and in that have become more concerned about this issue of missing and kidnapped and human trafficking of Black women and girls. So now we're going to see, starting tomorrow, what other Black men are in fact going to step up and do the right thing. And so let's get it on. Brother Lumumba, you want to share any more information about tomorrow, how folks can get involved and sign up and things of that nature?
Yes, absolutely. Individuals can go ahead and hit me in the DMs or on Facebook at Lumumba Uncaged. Also, you can hit me with an email that is powerman2282@gmail.com. Again, that's powerman2282@gmail.com. All right. Again, it's going to be tomorrow evening, 9:11 p.m. We are in a state of emergency, family. And so that is what that is to indicate. And so, inviting all men who see that need and have that concern to protect our women and girls to come on and step up and come forward. All right, so we can begin to organize better around the protections of our communities. All right, and developing mechanisms to, and systems to be able to train our men, and so that we can be active deterrents and be activated when need be. All right, family. Again, you can contact me at the email powerman2282@gmail.com, powerman2282@gmail.com. And you can also hit me on Facebook. You can inbox me at Lumumba Uncaged.
All right. And also, family, keep in mind that the Brothers Cadre, which we call BIS, Brothers in Support, right now, the immediate is focused on this issue and that's going on in our communities. We're going to introduce some of our plans of action, particularly as it pertains to May 9th. That is one of our first national days of awareness and action to fight missing, kidnapped, etc., Black women and girls. And so what we want folks to now do is do something, and we will have some suggestions for you, such as in most cities, if not every city, the police department does issue or have a listing of missing women and girls. They have missing people, period, but our focuses are women and girls. So this is something that anyone can get access to. We're looking to get committees in every community, task force committees. This is one of the things that the task force committees can do. Get that information. Then, of course, we're looking at distributing the information. So again, we'll talk more about that tomorrow, but we want to make certain that information is circulated in our communities. There are other things that we're looking to do to make certain that this information is circulated, as well as what kind of preventive measures. What are the mechanisms for, shall we say, reporting or conveying information? Again, we want to make sure that within our communities, we're doing these things first. If you listen closely to some of what Dr. Garrett said, it was about what we did in our communities. And then, again, I think either Sister Elaine mentioned it as well, that, a lot of times our people are running to the enemy to solve some of our problems or some of the things that's going on. That's not exactly a good thing. But because we don't have things in our community to address certain concerns and even certain needs, then our people end up running to somebody else. So we're going to create a kind of a structure. In fact, here in Philly, we have a meeting on Thursday, I believe, to introduce one of our first kinds of restructuring. People have heard of reconstruction and all those things. Well, we got a restructuring going on, and ours is called New Black Philly. New Black Philly. We'll be introducing next week what that is, and again, it's a model that we want to duplicate in other cities. It'll be different in each city, of course, but we started off here with New Black Philly. Brother Moses asked me a few weeks ago about, what's your plan and all that? Well, you get ready to see. Again, we're going to release parts of the Black Print Agenda, 26, 27 now, but it's really Black Print Agenda 30, because by the end of 2030, we will examine what we've actually been able to accomplish and what we need to do further and so forth. This is called accountability. This is called responsibility. So again, starting next week, we unravel or unveil, shall we say, what we call New Black Philly. It's a model for repair, amongst other things. And it will entail each part of Philadelphia where there's a large combination, a large, shall we say, amount of Black folks. Each area, this just gives you an example, will have its own community mayor, will have its own council, community council. Like in Philly, the main group is the city council. Well, they can have that. That's okay. We want our own. So we're going to have our own community council, and it will interact with the city council, but y'all get it right. So now this enables us to at least begin to be a bit more autonomous, a bit more self-governing, and to really be more proactive in our communities and more productive. So again, we'll be telling you more about that next week. And I guess we can get ready to wrap up for tonight, Brother Lumumba. I think this was an excellent program tonight with Sister Elaine Riddick, who will be joining us for part 2 next week. Again, her organization is called the Rebecca Project. And we're going to talk about some of the newer ways that is now getting ready to be implemented, or it's already being implemented, but they're going to advance it as it pertains to, if not sterilizing, definitely dealing with reproduction, right? We'll talk more about that next week and some other things. And we'll also be talking further with Dr. Garrett. He's planning to bring 2 sisters with him. And wait till you hear what they've got to say. So I guess we can close out, Brother Lumumba.
All right. Excellent. Thank you for joining us for another edition of New Day, Resurrection, and Liberation. Let me come to the panel real quick, or the listening audience, for final thoughts, closing remarks. Did anyone want to say anything before we close out this evening? Let me open the floor one more time before we get ready to close out. Right, questions or comments?
Comments. Thank you for the guests. So very knowledgeable. So we need this kind of information, of course, implement ways to use the knowledge that they shared with us. Thank you.
All right, give thanks. And thanks once again for joining us, Sister Shayla. All right. Anyone else before we close out for this evening? Questions, comments?
I think
All
I
right.
would be remiss if I didn't, I think it'd be a sin of omission if I didn't say I bear witness that Jesus is the author and finisher of my faith, and that for government mouth say tongue is his messenger.
Okay, thank you for that, Moses. All right, we're going to close out for this evening. And with that being said, I want to give thanks, of course, first and foremost, to the Creator, Creatress, Most High. Give thanks to the ancestors and the elders, those who have shed blood, sweat, and tears and paved the way to allow us to be here today. I want to thank you all. Thank you for your time, energy, and effort, dedication, determination, and discipline. I bid you all truth, justice, peace, love, freedom, power, prosperity, protection, and divinely principled purpose. I want to say, let us continue to strategize, organize, and mobilize. And finally, I want to say, Pomoja Tu Tashenda family, which means together we will win.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you, Sister Dottie.
No, thank y'all for such a wonderful job that y'all do.